So E3 just kicked off, and I just finished watching the Microsoft Xbox Live E3 conference presentation, press reveal. It was their Xbox live stream for E3, and there's a lot to talk about here. It was right over an hour and a half long, and I watched the entire thing from start to finish. You know, it kind of finished abruptly seeming. It was definitely one of the better live conferences in pretty much all of E3 history. You know, some of these live conferences that they have or live presentations, you know, they come out and then there's audio flub or sometimes things with the crowd, or kind of like last year where they're like moving people and revealing new stuff on like a different stage, and you know, all the production that goes behind that, and there's definitely a lot of things that can go wrong. And I got to give Xbox a lot of credit. Their stage presence, you know, everything from the stage to the lighting to the people that they had come up to the flow of it. Everything that they had from the stage to the lights to the actual setup of it to all the presenters that came out. It was definitely smooth flowing, and you know, they had pretty much like 60 games to show from their first party and like indie titles as well as third party games, and they pretty much just came out. They just started showing game after game after game after game, and you know, the layover time that was in between each one was really pretty short, and that's kind of a first for E3. Even though it seems like in the past couple of years they've definitely been having a lot less of presenters talking on stage, or it seems like in most cases that, you know, for basically all of the three big companies that, you know, show up at E3 that we watch as, you know, console gamers, it seems like they're trying to get rid of the multiple presenter on stage where they're having interactions, and they just try to bring out one person at a time, because then they're sticking to the teleprompter and the script, and there's not a lot of room for error between two people trying to, you know, talk to each other, or, you know, all the cringy moments that we've seen with them like talking to one another and just saying like stupid things that are just like oof moments, you know. So it seems like they keep that down to pretty much a minimum these days, and that's a good thing. But overall, this presentation just seemed to flow. Game after game was shown, and it was pretty awesome. So I'm not really going to go in order of the whole presentation, because I'm not really good at remembering what came first and what came second and all that. So I pretty much just have a list here. And so the first game I want to talk about is Psychonauts, or Psychonauts 2. You know, I never played the first one. I've seen it, and I just got to say, you know, coming off the bat here, Psychonauts 2, it's definitely a cool looking, it kind of has like that creepy sort of, you know, it's like a 3D, 2D where, you know, it switches and there's platforming and stuff like that. But overall, it just has this kind of silly vibe to it. Like it showed him like walking down the hallway, and the hallway's stretching and things are moving, and it's kind of just this really cool, you know, it's just this creepy setting, and you kind of run around and you can aim and throw stuff at things. And I gotta say that game actually looks pretty cool. When it comes out, I'm definitely gonna be checking it out. They also showed Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. I'm not big on the real-time strategy or games like that. Those kind of all, most of the time, remind me of like old PC games, and I've played some of them, but it's not really my thing. So the next game on the list here that I want to talk about is the new Battletoads. We saw the trailer, you know, quite a while ago, and I was pretty stoked for what we were going to be seeing. You know, nothing came out about any screenshots or anything like that. We didn't see any gameplay, and I wasn't sure how this game was going to look, and it seems kind of like a mixed review kind of at this point. Like, some people like the way it looks, some people don't. I gotta say, it's all right in the way that it looks. You know, I'll definitely have to play it, just like a lot of other people said. But for what it is, I think it represents the franchise pretty good. I think they could have maybe gone like a different style, but then again, you don't want to go too realistic with it. And so in the same vein, they kind of went, you know, the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and they went with this really kind of like 90s cartoon looking. It just really reminds me of like the 90s with the way that they punch and the way they really stretch out. Like the original NES game, you know, they would swing their fist and, you know, their arm would stretch out when they throw a punch, and, you know, their arm would really like stretch out and look just cartoony. And so for this, it seems like they kind of went with that silly kind of vibe to it, and they kind of embellished that a little bit. So I'm all right with that. We'll just have to see when the game actually comes out, you know, just how it looks and actually feels. But so far, I like what I see, and, you know, I'm pretty pumped to play it. Yeah. Next on the list, they had the Blair Witch Project, which that just totally threw me back to, 1997 or 96 when the movie came out. I remember seeing that back in the day, and there was like the website for it, and people just thought that it was completely real, that these, 4 or 5 college kids like went out into the woods and they lost their map and basically just disappeared or got murdered by this thing. And I remember that movie kind of creeped me out as a kid. But anyways, when this trailer was first being unveiled, it definitely looked like Outlast, which I haven't played those, but it has a certain kind of look and feel to like the atmosphere and the lighting mostly. So a lot of people in the chat, they were saying that this was going to be Outlast. It didn't seem like anybody really knew what the game was until it actually said at the end, Blair Witch. So this is kind of a game just out of left field. It's definitely an old name, so it's kind of weird that they're coming out with this game now, and it's kind of just a reboot, I guess, of that name. So that's kind of different to see. Then they showed like the Borderlands 2 like DLC, and those are games that I'm not really too big into. I played Borderlands back in the day, but it's just not something I keep up on. Then they kept going through and things were being shown, and at one point they started talking about their Xbox Game Pass service and how that's $1 and how that's, coming out to PC. So that's actually pretty cool. I might sign up for that and try it, on my PC and just see how that actually works. But it seems like Xbox, I actually give them a lot of my respect, because they're not just about pushing out these big numbers and kind of waving their flag and showing, how many different games they've sold and stuff. It seems like they kind of sit in this nice pocket in gaming, and they kind of do their own thing, but at the same time, they do need more exclusives, and I think they know that, and they do pay attention. But it is cool that they offer so many different games, and they have like the Game Pass and stuff, and they're not trying to charge like an arm and a leg for it. So they definitely do have this weird spot in the industry that I think they're still trying to refine. So I actually give them a lot of respect, along with Phil Spencer. You can call him what you want. You can call him, Filthy Spencer like I do. But the guy, he comes off all right. He's a good speaker, and I definitely think he's a good head for the company. And I can tell that he pays attention and, really cares. And it seems like they're still trying to iron some things out. But it seems like going forward, they're just going to stay in this nice, tight, niche that they've carved out and kind of just ride that through. And, I'm totally down for that. So the next game we saw was Cyberpunk 2077, which I remember when they first showed that, and it just seemed like a really bizarre, that was years ago, and it just seemed like this really bizarre game, and now it's finally going to be coming out soon, and I'm pumped to see more on it. I'm curious to see just how big this world actually is, and just how the story is actually unfolding, because in this trailer here, you see him with his friend, and they basically stole some sort of like government like chip that he kind of has on him, and they jump in this taxi, and he's saying that he's rich and stuff, and his friend basically got shot or clawed or whatever, and he hops out, and then he's got these awesome claw arms, and just the overall feel of the environment and like this giant city that you're in. Like, I don't know if this city is going to be massive. I don't know if you're going to go kind of from area to area. We haven't really seen too much, but from the looks of it, seems like this pretty cool open world where you're going to be doing all sorts of these missions in this cyberpunk city. And so overall, I'm just looking forward to what else they have in store for that. So we'll definitely be seeing some more on the game coming up soon. And I can't wait, because the game definitely looks amazing. But oh man, right at the end of the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer was when we saw a character reveal, and as soon as I saw the character, I knew that it looked like Keanu Reeves. And then who comes out on stage? It's Keanu Reeves, and he seemed like he was a little bit tipsy, maybe a little bit nervous, but he was goofy, and he pretty much put on like the best show for the audience. I think he was pretty much the highlight of the whole thing. So it's definitely cool that he kind of gets the Norman Reedus treatment in Death Stranding, and so now we have Keanu Reeves coming to Cyberpunk 77, which is going to be awesome. We also saw Dragon Ball Z, their new Dragon Ball Z RPG, although they kind of just showed this fighting style that's, reminiscent of their Tenkaichi and like their Budokai. And it just seems like their whole presentation for at least this trailer, it wasn't very like indicative of it being an RPG. It kind of just looked like another arcadey type, like story-driven sort of fighting game, which there's already been 10 of in the past 20 years. I definitely think they should have gone with a different trailer here and something that actually shows that it's an RPG instead of just this kind of fighting style, because at this point it just looks like a fighter. I think the Dragon Ball Z look and feel to their video games, I think it kind of needs an overhaul. You know, Fighter Z was a great game, but this one just kind of seems like it's resting on the way that the game used to look. So anyways, I'm not very interested in it, but you know, we'll have to see when the game actually comes out if it's, you know, a turd or not. There was also Elden Ring, which just kind of shows this head and this guy and all these arms kind of coming around and grabbing him. And it's kind of like the MO for this E3 and with a lot of these games where we're just seeing cinematics. Like, I don't quite understand it. Like, if it's coming out soon, what's the point in just showing like these movies to it? You know, it's a lot of these games were missing gameplay, and about halfway through, I just kind of started getting sick of that. I wanted to see some gameplay. So I think for this conference, you know, they did do a pretty good job, but I think a couple different times they should have kind of just taken a quick break, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and just actually show somebody on stage playing the game without it being this like behind the scenes, kind of with their like behind the scenes Xbox show that they do like once a month or whatever, like the Xbox news that they do. And that ends up just being this long drawn out thing that just ends up being a lot of talking and not much gameplay, and they're talking to developers, and you know, sometimes it's interesting, but a lot of it's not. A lot of it's just fluff, and it just gets really boring. And it's kind of the same with these long cinematic trailers, or even just some of these short cinematic trailers where it's just cinematic and you're not actually seeing any gameplay, and it's only like a minute long. Then they show a title, goes back to the crowd, the presenter comes back out, everyone's clapping for it, and you don't really end up knowing what the game is about. So this Elden Ring, just upon just this one trailer that they show here, it's just one of several different games that they showed that could have been probably done in a better way, where they actually show gameplay and don't just have the hype surrounded by these CGI trailers. Then we have the Forza Horizon 4. They're showing the cars driving around, and then it turns into this Lego world, which I thought was really cool. I haven't played Horizon 4 yet, but when this DLC comes out, you know, I'm definitely going to give that a try. I think it'll be just a really cool and fun, just, you know, extra to the base game, just with this new Lego skin on it that just, you know, gives it like this new kind of arcade feel. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's actually going to come out and how it's actually going to play, like in terms of the engine and just how it runs, because it was hard to tell again from like the cinematic trailer, which is basically what this, you know, trailer was. It was cinematic. It didn't really show if it was just, you know, just a Lego skin right over it, but everything looked really cartoony. It showed them driving on these back roads and, you know, kind of like busting through this, you know, kind of this pre-built like little area with like a house and a sidewalk and stuff. And it kind of showed them, you know, just driving through that and people running and stuff. And it was a really cool trailer. It looked really fun, but they didn't really show enough to kind of get a feel for what this DLC actually is. So, but anyways, overall, it just looked really fun, and I'll definitely be giving it a play and letting you know what I think. Next on the list, we have Gears 5, which I'm a Gears fan. I played the first 1, 2, and 3. I remember seeing the first one, you know, back in 2005 when my friend first got his Xbox 360, and I just was completely blown away by the over-the-shoulder immersion and how, you know, things would be exploding and you'd be running, and the way that the camera kind of tightened up over the shoulder, and, you know, the edges of the screen would get blurry, and it was just this very high adrenaline, like, kind of shooting franchise. And so I got sucked into it. The first 3 games were great. I never really played Judgment, and I didn't really play the last one. But with this new one here, you know, Gears 5, it was the same thing, more cinematic trailer, and we didn't really get to see much gameplay. And I've seen people saying that they've had their, like, mind melted by it, but I don't know what there was mind to be melted by, because it was just kind of a cinematic. They didn't really show much, and then it kind of went to this musical number, and it just sort of showed some cinematic, and then they went under the stage and showed, you know, a couple wrestlers that were, like, about to play it, and right when I thought they were about to be showing some gameplay, they just didn't. So I don't know what was up with that. And then right after that, they showed the very amazing Gears 5 Pop mobile game. What's there to say about it? I mean, it's a mobile game for Gears of War on your cell phone. Not very interesting, but somebody must love it. Then we had the Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is making a triumphant return. Now, when they first started showing this, it seemed like something really serious. You know, it showed that it was in the Azure engine, and they basically cut out the crowd noise, and they said that it was in, you know, full real-time 4K, and they basically showed this awesome flight simulator with just these awesome backdrops just flying through, you know, pretty much everywhere, just over America and over the pyramids and stuff like that. And some of these games are actually pretty cool. I remember playing them back in the day. Like, I had like Windows 97 Flight Simulator, and that was just a real choppy mess, but it's definitely cool to see something like this come back. I know there's quite a few people that actually love this kind of thing, and I'm curious to give it a check out just to see, you know, how good it actually is, and to see if it's actually, you know, this breathtaking 4K to where it actually looks real or not. But anyways, it's nice to see a comeback, and just to see really how far it's come from back in the days of like Windows 95. Now, I'm not a big Minecraft fan, and my kid is. He plays plenty of Minecraft, but regardless, I haven't really played too much Minecraft. But they showed this Minecraft Dungeons, which is coming to pretty much everything. It's coming to Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So I'll definitely give it a try. You know, I'll have to see how much it is, or, you know, I don't know if it's a standalone game or if it's, you know, just an add-on, but it's actually pretty cool looking because this is like a combat focus. It's not building. So in that regard, I actually kind of liked, you know, the gameplay mechanics and like the actual fighting and like the sword play that was in it. So I'm real curious to actually check it out. It looks like it could be a really fun game. And with this supposed, you know, Xbox and Nintendo collaboration, with the possibility of, you know, the Xbox Game Pass maybe coming to the Switch, there's been the rumor going around about Ori and the Blind Forest coming to the Switch, and I was going to buy it several months back on the Xbox One, and, you know, it's only like $18 or something like that at GameStop, so I was going to buy it. I've watched reviews on it. You can tell that it's a great game. It's in a great art style, but so I've just been kind of waiting for it to come to Switch to play it. But now we have Ori and the Will of the Wisp coming to Xbox One, and, you know, even though I didn't play the first one, I'll probably be picking up both of these, or play the second one first and the first one later. But either way, this is definitely a great franchise. It's got a great art style, and you can just tell that it's a game with a lot of love and care. And, you know, for it being a platformer, which is seemingly a hard thing to reinvent after, you know, 30 years of doing that and how far it's come, you still have these awesome, like, hand-drawn kind of watercolor painted with awesome lighting, and, you know, these games are just looking phenomenal. So Ori and the Will of the Wisp, that's another one that I'll probably be buying day one. And the next game on the list, you know, we saw the Sega banner, and then we start hearing this music and seeing this epic kind of RPG, and it turns out that, you know, Xbox went and got Phantasy Star Online 2 from Japan. So that's finally, after, you know, a decade or so, being brought over to the West in an official capacity with, you know, translation and all that. As soon as you can download it, it's free to play, and I'm hoping to be dumping many hours into that. So it's pretty badass that Microsoft was able to go and get it. I thought Nintendo might be the one to go and get it, you know, either of them really, and, you know, basically bring the first translation to the West for us. But hey, it turns out Phil Spencer, you know, he went go over to Japan and, you know, get it cracking. So he got it localized. Well, you know, him. But it's impressive that Microsoft was able to go and get this game that's been being asked for years and years and years. It's been many years. I just take my hat off to them for bringing this awesome game to us, and it's going to be free to play, so I encourage you to check it out as well. One of the games I'm actually pumped for, because I haven't followed Star Wars. I haven't watched like the past movie or two, and I kind of fell off the Star Wars train for a while, but I did play The Force Unleashed 1 and 2, and those seem to have kind of like mixed feelings on them. I played both of them for a lot of hours. Basically the first one more so, but when the second one came out, I bought it and beat it, and I let somebody borrow it, and I never saw the game again. And to this day, I don't even remember who I let borrow it. I just know that I just know that it disappeared from my collection. So anyways, this new Jedi Fallen Order, this game has like mixed feelings on it because it's EA, and we all know that EA has pretty much sucked for the past 10 years. So if you think EA sucks, then hit the like button for me. So if you think EA sucks, hit the like button and subscribe for further videos like this. This is D-Dub. But anyways, this Jedi Fallen Order, it's looking like a pretty good game. It's got like these different kinds of elements to it, but I'm pretty pumped for it. There's more to be seen and there's more to be talked about, but I think this might be a day one kind of purchase. It doesn't seem like it has any microtransactions or anything like that. It just is a basic standalone single player like from back in the day, and that's exactly what we wanted, and that's pretty much what they've delivered here, and it definitely looks great. They also showed other games like State of Decay 2, Heartland. I never played the first one. You know, they also showed the Outer Worlds. Those are games that look pretty cool. I'll have to see more about them. And, you know, they look pretty cool. But then they showed Tales of Arise, which I've only played a few Tales games, but from what I've seen, you know, I've watched reviews on like some of the more renowned ones, which are the ones that, you know, I pretty much happen to not play for some reason or another. But this new one is looking pretty epic, and I'm really excited for it, and I'm interested to see more on it. And when it comes out next year at some point, you know, we'll have to see how good it is, but it's going to be a game that I'm into. I can just tell just by looking at it. Then there's also this other indie game called 12 Minutes, and we didn't really catch much from it, but it's kind of this like time loop game. It's hard to tell if you're just in this one room, but it was just a quick trailer that showed kind of like I guess a husband and wife, and it kind of shows these different scenarios they're going through, from like just sitting on like the couch watching TV, and then it's kind of going back and forth to like this, I guess, like murder scene abduction kind of thing. So it definitely just seems like a interesting kind of like thought-provoking game, and we'll have to see more from it. But from what we did see, it looked all right actually. So I'm kind of curious to see what this game turns out to be. So then basically almost closing the show was Halo Infinite and the Xbox Scarlet, which we won't be seeing more until E3 next year. So that's a bit of a bummer. I was hoping Halo Infinite would be coming out sooner than that, but I guess not. And same for a lot of these other games. We didn't really get any gameplay, which makes sense for a game like this. But when you consider like a game like Gears 3, like that comes out in just a few months in September, and we didn't even see any gameplay. So hopefully they have like a actual gameplay trailer coming up soon for us. I'm hoping maybe in the next few weeks, because that one's coming out soon and we know nothing about it. But it makes sense to not really show gameplay for Halo Infinite, which is a launch game for the Xbox Scarlet, which is going to be most likely holiday of 2020. So that's still, you know, 14, 15 months out. But from what it seems, it's kind of like a reboot of the franchise. And they show like Master Chief, you know, he's kind of floating out in space, and then this guy, you know, he grabs him in and basically plugs him in. And so now you're going to be going on a mission to basically just once again go take out the Covenant, and I'm definitely really excited for it. I played maybe 10 minutes of Halo 5, and I just didn't like the way it looked, didn't like the way it feels. I just didn't think it was like good progression for what the series used to be to where it's going now. So anyways, we'll have to see more on that. The Xbox Scarlet's coming out, and you know, they talked a lot about that. They're basically hyping it up, but it's something that's still a little bit off, so I'm not really going to talk too much about it here. I do have things to say, but we'll save that for down the road. Anyways, guys, that's been my look at the 2019 E3 Xbox Live Conference briefing. So this is D-Dub out. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you think EA sucks, hit the thumbs up. And I'll catch you guys in another one. Have a good day. Peace out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.